Hey guys, and welcome to the video. We're going to be discussing the opening box office of the Blue Beetle movie and the marketing that surrounded it. So grab your bug spray and get ready to clean away the mess of this latest DC flop. But before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and stay up to date with all of the movie news we have going on around here. So guys, we're going to look at this article here, Warner Brothers Identity Politics, Marketing for Blue Beetle Fails, and Film Fares Worse Than Projections. So it's just talking about the marketing and how it's been targeted to a certain demographic, namely kind of like Latinos, Latin Americans, for obvious reasons. That's the main cast of this movie. And also the film fares worse than projections. So the opening weekend has just been like dismal. We pretty much expected it. The last few DC films have just bombed at the box office, and we knew this film was going to be the same. Regardless of how well it was received, it was pretty much guaranteed to bomb at the box office, which is a shame because a lot of people seem to like it. But anyway, guys, so Warner Brothers bet big on identity politics in order to market director Angel Manuel Soto's Blue Beetle movie, and it completely failed in the film's opening weekend, with an estimated gross performing worse than initial projections. So, according to the numbers, Blue Beetle's brought in $25.4 million at the domestic box office. It did another $18 million at the international box office for a global gross of $43 million. While the film's box office numbers are exceptionally poor, it did become the highest grossing film, unseating Barbie, which only brought in $21.5 million. So yeah, there was talk surrounding the Barbie movie still being in the box office, and the potential for the Barbie movie to, beat out Blue Beetle on its opening weekend would have just been absolutely crazy. You think how much money the Barbie movie has made, how long it's been in theaters now, and the fact that it had the potential to keep Blue Beetle from reaching the top of the box office was just insane. And it's just kind of a testament to how well that movie's doing. But yeah, so this is the second worst opening weekend box office for a DC film since the DC Extended Universe launched Man of Steel. The only film Blue Beetle bests is Wonder Woman 1984. Oh god, that film was atrocious. I used to say that Birds of Prey was the film, a DC film that I didn't like, that I liked the least, sorry. But I think after thinking about it, Wonder Woman 1984 is just atrocious. That guy, the whole body swapping thing, and the fact that she sleeps with a guy who isn't in control of his own body. Yeah, man, it was just super weird, that movie. How they managed to greenlight that movie, I'll never know. But anyway, that's to go off on a tangent. Which had a day and date release on HBO Max, meaning it released in theaters the same day and it was available to stream on HBO Max. Wonder Woman 1984's opening weekend was $16.7 million domestically. Given Blue Beetle had the second worst opening weekend, that means it fared worse than the recently released The Flash, which only had $55 million opening, as well as Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Zachary Levi-led movie had an opening of $30.1 million. So yeah, it's like I said, guys, it was kind of inevitable that this movie was going to bomb based on the last 5 or 6 movies in the DC movies now. They've all just come out. None of them have made over 400 million at the box office. They've just absolutely bombed. It's just, man, DC is absolutely just in the trash at the moment. It's so bad. And as a DC fan, seeing the state of this franchise looking this bad, it just really hurts, it sucks to see, because the DC universe and the DC characters, they deserve so much better than what they're getting at the moment. And I really want to see the franchise thriving. And with this reboot coming up of Superman Legacy, I really, really hope that they can get this franchise firing on all cylinders like it deserves. So this poor opening weekend box office underperformed projections for both Deadline's Anthony D. Alessandro and barely edged out Variety's Rebecca Rubin if the early estimates hold. D. Alessandro predicted the film would gross between $28 million and $32 million domestically in its opening weekend. Yeah, guys, these numbers are just so bad. 28 to 32 million in its opening weekend. Oh my god, that's just horrendous. It's so bad to hear a movie like this making these small numbers, He specifically noted that the movie was over-indexing with Latino and Hispanic audiences, and thus the hope that there will be plenty of walk-up business. So yeah, it goes on to say, basically saying there that even though people hadn't booked a lot of tickets in advance, the Latino audience are more likely to just show up on the day and buy tickets there and then rather than book them more in advance. So Rubin predicted that the movie would gross between 25 and 32 million. The film did fit into Shaw Robbins at the box office pro projections. He predicted the movie would do between 22 million and 32 million. However, like D'Alessandro, he asserted the movie had potential to over-index among Hispanic families, and this could help Blue Beetle come in slightly above what what have until recently been bearish tracking ranges. He did seem to indicate that it would be far worse than Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Its pre-sales were behind Zachary Levi's starring film. Yeah, I was absolutely in shock about Fury of the Gods. It only made what 130 million box office worldwide. For a film of that caliber to make only 130 million, it's unreal, man. It boggles the mind, really, really, really does. So, the poor box office performances come amid months of Warner Brothers promoting the film via identity politics, specifically to Latinos. At the beginning of June, the film's star Zolo Marijuana told Empire, quote, "The goal was to create a movie for a young me and a young Angel Manuel Soto, the film's director. That said, quote, hey man, someone who looks like you or comes from a similar background can be a superhero." He then added, "The second thing was to open more doors for people like us. As fun as it gets into this superhero world where everything is dialed up to 110%, it's the characters that I've most related to." So yeah, I do agree with his comments to a degree. Like, having representation on big screen movies, it's cool to see a movie based on Latino superhero. Like, it is really cool because we've not seen that before, and that should have been something fresh, something super exciting. It should have got loads of people out to support this film, but it just hasn't happened, and it's a shame because the movie was really fun and delightful. Yeah, it was kind of generic. We've seen it 100 times over at this point, and there are other movies that have done, similar movies that have done the whole stick better, but they've got a good foundation to build off of this Blue Beetle character, I think, going forward, and hopefully we do see him in the new DCU. So guys, after going through the rest of the article, it's basically a transcript of a interview with the director of the movie. So instead of me boringly reading it out for you guys, I thought that we would go through and watch the interview together, and we could stop and pause the video along the way, and we can make comments about what's being said. It's a lot of behind the scenes of the movie and how it transitioned from HBO Max onto the big screen. It's really, really interesting, guys. If you like this kind of thing, make sure you stick around to the end, and let's get going.
So one of the things about this film is originally it was going to be going straight to HBO Max, and then they decided to change it to being a theatrical release. And I am curious, when you got involved, had that decision been already made, or were you involved in the whole, they changed it? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, of course. No, when I came into the project, the mandate was at the time that everything goes to HBO Max, right? And but once we started, and I was like, sure, I'll do the movie, of course, a great opportunity. But I'm like, it can't be that the first time that we have a Latino superhero front and centered. Not.
You see, I really respect his position here, that he's making the first Latino superhero movie on the big well, not on the big screen to start with, but he's making a Latino superhero, and to stick to his guns and want that representation to be on the big screen in the forefront in front of everybody, rather than just to be shoved on streaming for another thing to be ignored. I really kind of expect his stance and his opinion on that.
Just a Latino playing a hero, but where he's a Latino, his family is Latino, and they're gonna be actually being heroes of their own stories for the first time. I was like, it cannot just live on streaming. Like, it has to go to the theaters. Like, the whole experience of watching these fantastical movies is to be amazed and in awe. And what about being able to see our culture represented differently? So we worked very, very hard to do this world building where the action sequences, the suit, the passion of the family, and the cultural aspects are presented in a way worthy of watching it, not only in the theater, but even on IMAX, and being able to see our communities that way. I think that we did an amazing job in bringing it to life on the concept development of it all, that at the end,
Yeah, I just really admire him for wanting to bring part of his culture and to show it, on the big screen, and kind of have that really good representation. Instead of, like I say, guys, instead of it being shoved on streaming, for it to be ignored, to have it, in the forefront on a big screen, to have it represented to the max. No pun intended. Yeah, and like, that's a really, really great thing to do from his perspective. Just wanting his culture represented. It's a really, really kind of cool thing that he did there, I think.
Warner Brothers decided that this movie has to go to theaters.
Well, one of the things is that Like with this movie, no matter how much money you get, you're always against the wall with the budget,
Yeah.
right? So my thing is like, how the F would you pull this movie off, making it for 10 or 20 or 25 million and having it go to HBO? You know what I mean? Like it would be impossible.
Yeah, I don't honestly know the logic and the politics behind it. What I do know is that we were able to be smart about how we handle our budget. That's why we went practical, and that's why we went to real locations. And oddly enough, that also makes it feel bigger and more immersed. Because even like this, the third act takes place in a real fortress that's 500 years old in Puerto Rico. That's not like a green screen set, you know? So being able to do that and see the magnificence of this building, how imposing it is, and being able to capture that and have fun with this adventure in it, it was a way for us to be able to stretch our budget in a way that kind of like delivers on it, I guess.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah, I think in the modern film industry, when we rely, especially with these big budget superhero movies, we rely so much on CGI work, and a lot of these films just become a CGI fest, and you can't really tell what's going on. But like to have practical suit, have a practical location, like you said, it adds to the authenticity of the movie. It makes you feel more immersed in it rather than just having, computer graphics on screen, like visual noise all over the place. So I think that was a really, really good decision. And I would love to see more films go practical rather than just CGI fest in the future.
But also, I think the audience, and including myself, and I'm sure you, when you're seeing whole shots that are CGI, you're like, it's like a cartoon. Mm-hmm. Like when you have those practical locations and you're adding
Yeah, so that guy just said exactly what I was just saying, guys. When you have too much CGI on screen, it just becomes visual noise. It looks like a cartoon, like it's just a mess all over the place. But to have practical sets and everything, it just makes the film feel more real. You get more immersed in it. You can actually believe it a little bit more, I would say.
CGI elements, it feels so much better.
You enhance it. I think one of the stuff that we agreed upon is if we become so heavy dependent on the VFX, it will balloon. Like with inflation and the expectations, you have to have so much stuff done prior to it, and by doing it on real locations or using a practical suit, our VFX supervisor Kelvin, he was like, it's better to enhance it because I already have the lighting reference. Everything is there. It's just enhance it, or it's just doing set extensions. And by doing it that way, it just felt like those are real. It's a real suit.
Yeah, that's the thing, guys. Like CGI can be a great thing to add on top of a practical thing, a practical suit, a practical location. Use CGI to enhance it, to make it a little bit better, or to change it in a way that you need to, rather than having it full CGI. So if you had that Blue Beetle suit and it was full CGI, I think it would have looked a little bit wacky. It would have looked a little bit strange. The lighting doesn't quite fit on a CGI suit perfectly at the moment. We have that uncanny valley kind of feel, don't we? But having a practical suit and then just enhancing some of the features with CGI, I think that was a great way to go. And like you said, it doesn't balloon the budget too much, and it feels more immersive. So that was a great choice, in my opinion.
It's not a gray suit, and also Mayes Rubio creating this suit with all its intrinsities, but at the same time creating a suit whose materials were done in a way that it could be flexible, so that we can also do the stunts in real life, like it wasn't a video game or mocap. It literally.
That kind of made me laugh. It reminded me of kind of the old Batman movies, obviously where he was in the rubber suit and he couldn't move his neck because the suit was attached. But yeah, that's the thing that's tricky with making superhero suits. It's got to look good. It's got to be practical, but at the same time, you've got to be able to move around in it. You've got to be able to do the stunts in the movie. If it becomes too bogged down and too bulky and too heavy, then it doesn't come off on screen correctly. It looks really weird. It doesn't look like it flows properly. It looks like the character would struggle to wear it. So trying to nail a superhero suit, it's got to be quite a difficult thing to do.
Like stunts, a lot of cable work, all that stuff, so that it feels like it has weight, so that it feels like it's more tangible.
Listen, and that's one of the reasons people bought. It's one of the reasons I bought into the movie. So your movie is a little over 2 hours. I asked this of every director. How did it change in the editing room? Did you have like a longer cut? How did you end up with that running time?
Because they asked me to do a movie less than 2 hours.
Exactly. Yeah.
100% less than 2 hours, and with credits, it bleeds into 2.7. My version wasn't that much longer. It was like 2 hours and 7 minutes.
Oh, so it's just a little bit.
It was just a little bit, but
Are we going to get the Soto cut? Because we've got the Snyder cut, and then we've got the Ayer cut, and now we're going to get the Soto cut of Blue Beetle, and it's going to radically transform the movie like the Snyder cut did. That would be quite funny, wouldn't it?
it's stuff that hurts, but you have to compromise.
Yeah, I understand. I see. What's interesting is as I've gotten older, I've learned the studio. I actually understand both sides of it, but also with Blu-rays, you can release things.
I hope so.
Right.
I hope we can, because there's a lot of really nice stuff that stayed out.
What was the last thing that you cut before you picture locked? Like the thing that really, you know what I mean? It was that close to being in the movie.
There was a really pretty scene that I guess that showed the family dynamic in front of Jenny. You know, like Jenny arrives and there's the chaos, and then they go out and say, But in between those moments, there was a beautiful dynamic of the family and just Jenny witnessing and absorbing it all. And you can see on her amazing performance how much she longed for that experience. And it was a really pretty scene, and you can get this if the family already had that chemistry. There it was like a more festive chemistry. It was very nice. I miss that scene.
Yeah, again, hopefully Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So guys, I'm going to end the video off there. There's another 8 minutes left of this video. I'll post the video link into the description if you want to go and watch the rest of it. That was just kind of a bit of behind the scenes. I thought you guys might find it interesting to learn a little bit more about what happened behind the scenes with the movie. I definitely learned a little bit myself. I find this kind of stuff interesting, especially being a big film fan like myself. Anyway, guys, jump into the comment section. Let me know what you think about this article and what you think about the director's comments here on the movie. And any other comments you have about the Blue Beetle movie. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Let me know. And I will see you guys soon.